Carl, are you on? Don, he's on? Okay. All right.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Blue Vigil live stream demo of our latest addition to our product line, the M300. My name is Carl Miller. I head up our partner programs here at Blue Vigil, and I'll be your host for a majority of the afternoon. As we get started, just a couple things to keep in mind. This is a Zoom webinar, so as an attendee, you will not be able to be heard, but you can communicate with us a couple of different ways. First, the chat feature is available. And secondly, and the one that's most important to us, is the Q&A function. You can find that at the bottom of your screen. If anytime during the course of today's demonstration you'd like to ask a question, just submit it via that QA function, and we will do our best to make sure that we get you an answer during the course of the demo. So to kick things off, I'm going to introduce Chad Collier, who is part of the Adorama team, to say a few words. Welcome, Chad.
Thanks, Carl. Appreciate you guys having me on for this webinar. Very excited to be in partnership with Blue Vigil. Just to give the attendees a little background about myself, I am the chief pilot here with Adorama. I have over 10 years law enforcement experience in the state of Michigan, as well as a number of years in the commercial drone industry. So I've worked from everything from industrial inspections to tech startups, research labs, gone through a number of advanced certifications in the drone industry, and that has brought me here to Adorama, where we are creating an ecosystem, if you will, around drones, drone solutions, so ground up development for training, things like that. And as part of that is a partnership with you guys, Blue Vigil, and making sure that this amazing tool that you guys offer is put in the hands of key people. A lot of that is with law enforcement, as well as other research and development firms that we have relationships with. But just a great tool. Given all my experience in the drone industry, this is definitely a resource that will benefit a lot of entities. So happy to be here, happy to be a part of this, and yeah, looking forward to seeing the demonstration.
Great, thanks, Chad. So I'm now gonna do a little introduction of the rest of the Blue Vigil team that's with me today. So I have in the back office with me, we have Kathy Welt. She is the person that did all the magic to make this happen. And then out in the field, we have a team of 3 that are flying and filming. So we've got Todd Stave, Gerard Eldering, and our CEO, Rob Schumann. So Rob, the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody, or if you're out on the West Coast, good morning. Appreciate you joining us today, and glad you took some time from your day to hear about our exciting new M300 solution. So for those of you who aren't familiar with tethers or certainly don't know the Blue Vigil system, let me just do a little background on how the system works and the components and all that, and then we'll get into the M300 itself. So the Blue Vigil tether system has 2 core components. There's a ground unit, which is the RS-1000 in our case. And this ground unit takes wall power AC in, which can be either from a regular wall outlet, 15 amp wall outlet, or from a generator, or from an inverter on a command vehicle or something of that nature. So it takes AC in. It converts that AC into 400 volts DC, which is delivered on the tether up to the aircraft in the sky. This conversion is what enables these tethers to be so small and to be light enough that they can be carried effectively by the aircraft. The second part, and our RS1000 is available in 2 versions. One is a 150-foot tether version, and the other one is a 300-foot tether version. So, and the second component that the ground unit does is it converts to power, and then more importantly and critically, it manages the tether. And the management of the tether, it's active management. And so it's constantly keeping essentially a fixed tension on the tether so that when you're flying, there's no tether laying on the ground. You have none of those issues, as well as it enables the system to take up wind gusts and other events that are happening without adverse impact on the drone itself. And we'll show you some more of that when we fly. So you have the base unit, which creates the power and delivers the power. And then the second part of a solution is the air units. And I'm gonna, 4 years ago when we started with DJI products, our first solution was for the Inspire 1. We still sell the solution, and it's actually a great way of using old Inspire 1s. Batteries are tough to find for them these days, but when you're on the tether, the quality of the battery is obviously not nearly as important. And this solution is conceptually very similar to the M300, but obviously an older version. So here we have a battery. The battery has been modified in order to give us a connection. This is a 6S battery, so it has the XT90 connector. We add that and modify the battery. And then and this unit can fly with just this battery as is. You can charge it normally. You can use the battery as one of your normal batteries. And then when you want to fly on the tether, we have a second part of the solution, which is the BRM. And this unit takes the 400 volts coming up on the tether and converts it into, in this case, the 24 volts, the success output that this battery and this drone wants to have. And so when you want to fly on tether, you put the battery module in, you plug in the XT90, then you would electrically connect the tether here. And then the second part that you need, and this is very important, is the physical connection of the tether. So the tether would clip on here, and this is where you have the force pulling from the tether on the drone. And notice how it's at the center of gravity, and that ensures that whatever force that is being put into the drone happens where you want it to be, okay? Pulling straight down on the drone, not from the legs or whatever other piece. So that was our first solution for the Inspire 1. Then several years ago, we came out with the second generation solution for the M200, M210. And in this case, again, you'll see it's the same BRM. And in fact, these are identical BRMs. You can move them from one unit to another. And then what we've done is we've taken the batteries and created these sleds. So what the sled does is basically holds the battery and enables us to interface between the battery and the drone. And this sled is highly intelligent in that when it's flying, if all you have is the battery and there's no tether, it connects the battery to the drone. When it's on tether, it will actually switch to the tether and disconnect the battery completely so there's no battery drain. If there's power loss, it'll immediately switch back. And so to fly in this configuration, you just put the battery in, you put the whole thing in, click it in, and right now you can fly, okay? And so here, and then if you want to fly on tether, again, all you have to do, add the BRM module, connect the tether, and off you go. Plug it in, and off you go. Okay, so this is our second generation unit. Our third generation unit now is the M300, which we're here today excited to announce support for, and will be generally available very soon. And in this unit, you can see it's a very similar concept design. Again, we've added 2 sleds into the unit. We turned the battery sideways to make it work. We actually think it looks kind of cool. So here you have the 2 batteries. And again, you have obviously the tether coming from the bottom, same kind of physical tether mount, same type of connection. We'll show you later, we'll take this out, we'll show you how it goes. But for now, I think we're gonna get ready to fly here. We're gonna take it up in the air, and I am going to turn it over to our pilot in charge, Todd. And he's gonna take you up through the flight, and we'll be demonstrating the features of the system.
Great.
Okay, Todd?
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. So I have a interesting perspective for all of you to enjoy when I start flying. I have the ability to show you what is exactly on my screen here. So for right now, we're going to stay with the external camera, and then I'll show you a little bit about what's going on as far as the telemetry. And we're flying with the Zimuse HT20 camera, which has got unbelievable capabilities, and I'll show those off a little bit here. But first things first, let's take this off. Let's take off. Now, as it stands right now, the tether system is powered off. So we're just going to be taking off with normal batteries. Now, the tether is attached to the drone, and as if you would be flying with the tether system. But as part of our initial takeoff checklist, what we want to do is we want to make sure that the the drone is flying as normal. I'm going to switch over here. Do a little picture-in-picture so you can see. No, I can't. All right. So yeah, so this is our normal flight configuration. We have just as if you would any other flight, any normal situation. We're flying with this really cool camera, which is very nice. You can see all around, see the neighborhood. One of the things I want to point out before we turn the tether on is the flight counter. It's showing that under this configuration, with this load and these conditions, with these batteries, the way they're charged to near 100%, 90 some odd %, we should get about 35 minutes of flight time. Now, we want to make sure that it's draining and operating normally. Now we're going to turn the tether on. Go ahead and power the tether on, Rob. Go ahead and turn the tether on.
Okay.
All right. Now, when we turn the tether on, you're going to see a little bit of bob in the aircraft. That's a good indication that it switched power sources. All right. And we're going to show you a little bit more about that towards the end of the flight and how it happens during a power failure. But I'm going to switch back over now to my controller view, and I want you to notice the flight time counter now. That flight time counter is going up, and it's going up fast. Those batteries are logically disconnected from the drone. The only power going to the drone is from the tether itself. And this algorithm that DJI put into the program here is basically counting the depletion rate, which is 0, because all the power is coming from the tether itself. Now, I'm going to climb now. I'm going to switch back to the external camera. I'm going to climb up to about 40 feet. I'm going to show you some of the capabilities of the camera that we have on this drone. So we're going to zoom in. As Rob mentioned, this system manages the cable as we go up to, we have about, 15 feet of slack coming out of the cable. We obviously don't want to land on the box, get on next to it, so we put a little bit of slack in there. And then it gets to the point where it starts to pull on this tether. Now, this tether really is a responsive tether. It's not push or pull anything, right? As the drone pulls it up, it pays out. And as the drone comes down, it pulls back in again. All right, we're going to stop at about 40 feet there. Just a little bit so I can see what's going on over here. Okay, good. Now I'm going to switch back to my drone view, my controller view. Yeah. Okay. So here we are. The flight counter still is trying to figure out how much flight time it has. When we were climbing, it did go back down, and the reason for that is that we're obviously going to have a greater power draw. The voltage that is available, or the overhang, I should say, is going to be a lot lower, and so it's going to go down lower. But in hover, as you see, we're leveling out about 316 minutes. That's not normal. That's not reasonable if you were just flying with battery power. The camera, as I mentioned on this drone, is the Zimuse H520. It's got a 200x drone. This is the normal wide view angle of it. We're going to zoom in on that truck over there. All right. And in particular, as a law enforcement and security, I'm really concerned about that chicken might be stealing the truck. So we're going to zoom in on the chicken, make sure this chicken's not, danger to society here. No, well, it looks fine. We're going to go, we can zoom back out again. You can see this, the amazing zoom capability, and that's only a 20. As we can go up to 200 on this, and from 2 miles away and 400 feet in the air, you can read a license plate. We're going to also switch to an IR view. You can see if the chicken's got any friends around, if the barn's has got somebody in it, if there's somebody in the truck, if one of the cars next to it happens to be on fire, or there's somebody in that. It's really a fantastic camera that comes as an available option for the M300. We don't make it, but it's really a fun thing to play. We're going to go back out wide again. Okay. So once again, our flight counter stays the same. It is 324 minutes. Our battery power is not being depleted. It's logically disconnected from the drone. We're going to now zoom back out again to our external camera so we can show you what happens in the event of a wind gust. Now I can do a picture on so you can keep an eye on what's going on with the camera. Okay. All right, so in the event of a wind gust, the tether is going to be pushed one way or the other, whichever way the wind is blowing. The cable will bow a little bit, okay? And when the wind dies down, the cable spools back in again. So it's automatically managed, automatically tensioned. Okay. I'm gonna turn back on to the camera and the chicken in the camera here. I'm gonna zoom into this, and we're gonna do that exercise one more time. Okay, so there's the chicken on a 20X drone. Okay, Rob is pulling on the cable like he was before, and I want you to see how stable this picture is. We're not moving one little bit. There's no external forces that are creating a unstable image or causing that camera to move off of its target. It's completely stable in its current condition. Okay. We're going to come back down again. We're going to demonstrate what happens when the tether power, or if the tether power were to fail. I do want to mention a couple of things before we do that. In the event of a power failure, what you're going to see is the sled system will automatically revert back to battery power just about instantly, with less latency than the drone can feel. And it will stay in the air for as long as the batteries have a charge. If you are the pilot who is flying this drone and the power on the tether fails and you don't notice, and it reverts back to battery power and you still don't notice it for the whatever it was, 35 minutes that we had, this drone will act like any normal M300. If it gets to critical voltage, it will land. And you can set the critical voltage to, I think, up to 50% on this. So if it gets to half battery power, it'll land all by itself. All right, we're gonna switch back to the external view. I'm gonna come down. I'm gonna lower the drone to about 5 feet or so.
Yeah, and as Todd is bringing this down, one of the features of our solution that we worked hard to engineer and get right was that our solution for the M300 does not interfere with any of the standard safety systems on the drone. So right now we're flying with all of the external sensors are on, including the downward facing sensor, which is part of why the system is so stable just sitting there, okay? So we're just hovering now, we're hovering at about 5 feet. And so what we're going to do right now is we're going to turn off the power to simulate, let's say you're running on a generator runs out of gas, the RS-1000 base station loses power. So we're going to simulate that by turning off the power. And what you'll see is that the battery will automatically engage. And at the moment of that switchover, the drone is actually going to hop up a little bit because the battery voltage is a little bit higher than the tether voltage, and then it'll settle back down. So we're going to do that now. 3, 2, 1. And now you'll see it just kind of settles back to where it's supposed to be. So again, it's flying. We just switched to battery. Now you've refilled the gas tank. The generator is running again. And now we can go and turn the tether back on again. And it auto checks itself, finds tether power, and it's actually going to drop a tiny bit. There we go. And then going to climb back up. So now again, it's flying completely on tether. So I'm going to turn it off again, and then you can see with the control system, you can see how that impacts, and again, you'll see it on the battery life. So I'm going to turn it off. and Todd can walk you through. I think his display hopefully is showing.
Yeah, you see where the tether's turned off, the battery counter, the flight counter is going down to something that's going to resemble something reasonable for just operating on battery power. Okay, Rob, go ahead and turn it back on again.
Okay, yep. Okay.
And you see the battery, the
We're
flight
back on
counter now
tether.
going back up again. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we're good.
Okay, great. Do you want to come in and for a landing, and then we can show how quickly you let's say you're doing a mission, you see something, you need to go fly the drone further away than you can on the tether. So we're going to bring it down. We're going to remove the tether and show you how quickly you can get out of the get ready to fly again. So Todd landed our drone. I'm going to put it back on the target. So the drone is still running. This drone is still operational. And so all we need to do to disconnect the tether is we're going to, first we're going to turn off the tether, always a good idea. So we're going to turn off the tether itself. Then we're going to disconnect the electrical connection. And we're going to disconnect again the mechanical connection that provides the force transfer into the drone. We're going to take the tether cable out of the way. And now the unit is still running and Todd's ready to take off again. And there we go. And now again, you're flying tether free. You have all the capabilities of the drone and can go everywhere. So that the sleds operate, and you could in theory leave the sleds in the drone all the time and always fly with the sleds configured. Okay. And then Todd, if you want to bring it down, we can show the components that go into the tether system, go into the solution on the M300. Great. So now we're landed. We're going to do a normal power down sequence for the M300. And the M300 solution consists of, again, 2 sleds. So the batteries are held in by these clamps. So we pull the batteries out. The batteries are unmodified standard TB60 batteries. So we can pull both of those out. And then we have the sleds themselves. The sleds in this case are held in by the normal battery lock. And then we'll disconnect. Again, there's a Y cable that connects the 2 halves together. So disconnect the Y cable. And then we can slide out one of the sleds. Again, this sled has both the power conversion from the 400 volts to the converter, as well as the interface logic to switch between the battery and the tether. So an M300 air solution consists of the 2 sleds, this one, and in case this one, the Y cable. And then the last part is the physical mount that provides the physical connection point for the tether. And that physical mount in this case is this brace down here. And that's got, again, the same similar connection point you saw before. It provides center of gravity point for the pulling and the tether to connect to. So the solution is the 2 sleds and the brace. And this brace screws in, you take out 2 screws for the legs on each side and then put in the replacement screws we provide. So there's no modification to the drone. We don't need to replace any of the parts on the drone. And it's easy and it's simple, and you can fly. Again, you can then just stick the batteries in and fly. You would typically leave the brace on permanently, and you can choose whether or not to use the sleds when you're flying without the tether. And that's really almost a personal choice as you fly. So that's the solution. Overall, this adds about 1.5 pounds of weight of payload, and so that leaves almost 4 pounds. And we've flown this with 4 pounds of dead weight payload as well, in addition to all of the tether components. Okay. So that's kind of the end of our demonstration part. Carl, do we have any questions?
Yeah, we have several questions. First is about the base station itself. Can it be operated in the rain, and what length is the actual tether?
Yeah, so the base station comes in two variants. There's a 150-foot version and there's a 300-foot version on the tether, and you can select that when you order your system. The base station itself is not waterproof and is not designed to be like out in the rain. A light mist is fine, but if you need to fly in adverse conditions, this space station you need to cover and provide some rain protection for. If you need to fly in that condition, and our M300 solution, these sleds are actually designed to be water resistant, just like the M300. So they're designed to fly in the same conditions, the same IP55 rating conditions that the M300 itself is designed to fly in. We will be coming out probably next year with an updated base station that is also weatherproof, but at this time it is not. Our M200 and our Inspire solutions are not weatherproof, but neither one of those two drones is designed to fly in those types of adverse conditions in any case.
All right, the next question is in regards to operation on the tether. Are you restricted to remain in stationary flight, or can you move the drone around? And the follow-up to that is, what types of warnings, sensors, controls are on the base unit?
Yeah, so in terms of your ability to move around, it's really limited by the amount of tether you have out of the box. You can essentially think of it as a cone. So if you're at 100 feet, you can move over 50 feet in any direction, no problem. If you've got a 300-foot tether and you're flying at 250 feet, you can get an even wider space. What'll happen when that occurs is that essentially, if you're flying directly overhead, your tether will always be vertical. If you go start flying in a circle, your tether will be out here. It'll still be held, taut by the tension. So you are able to move around, obviously within limits, because you are attached to a physical tether. The box itself is very simple to operate. It does have warnings when you get near the end of the tether. So as you get near the last 10 feet or so of the tether, you will start to get audible warnings. The box will give an audible screech, a constant beep, as well as there are red indicators on the cable itself to warn you that you're near the end of the cable. When you get to the end of the cable, the beep gets quite a bit more insistent. And then obviously also what will happen is as you reach the end of the cable, you are basically now pulling against the 40-pound weight on the ground, and you're going to hear the motor tenor on your drone is going to change considerably as it tries to create lift against that. So you'll know that as well. We normally advise people not to be flying right at the edge of your tether length, in particular in windy conditions, because as we showed, when you get wind, so you got the drone up here, and you get wind, what's going to happen is the tether needs to pull out to adjust for the wind, okay? And then reel back in again. And that bow, if you're flying in a 20, 30 mile per hour gusts, you can get a 15 or 20-foot bow going outward, but there needs to be enough cable left on the spool in order to create that bow. So in those cases, you need to be aware of that, and your flight ceiling needs to be lower to compensate.
All right, another question just came in from Kevin. Wants to know if there are any maintenance concerns and or warranty concerns.
Yeah, so there are really no maintenance concerns. There's really no maintenance issues per se. Other than obviously you always want to keep an eye on the tether. If for some reason, if a tether catches on a prop for some reason or anything like that, you never want to fly with a tether that is showing abrasion or might have its protective covering damaged, because again, you're running 400 volts on this tether, and you need to be a little safety conscious from that perspective. In terms of warranty, we change nothing on the batteries or the DJI drone itself. Therefore, we do not impact the warranty of those systems. And then the RS-1000 itself comes with a full 1-year warranty.
Okay, attendees, please keep the questions coming. But Rob, while we're waiting for an additional question, I know earlier there was a good question that came up about flying an Inspire 1 on a tether and kind of the lack of battery availability. And do you need a working battery, or could you repurpose your Inspire?
Yeah, correct. So, we have a bunch of customers now who are actually using the old Inspire ones in exactly that mode, where they're using them as basically their tether vehicle. And again, the same base unit can be used across a variety of devices. So if you have 3 or 4 different kinds of drones in your fleet, and they don't have to be DJI drones, they could be other drones, that same base unit can support all of those drones. So if one day you want to fly the Inspire 1, that's no problem. And then another day you have a mission where you need to fly off of the M300, then you can take the M300 and connect the base unit to that. So it goes across both. And again, because you're not really fully power cycling the batteries, unlike the Inspire 1, you can get a much longer life out of those batteries.
Right. A common question we've been getting has to do with the weight and the takeoff weight of the M300, and kind of what does our system add to it, and what is the max payload capacity somebody could expect.
Yeah, so we have tested this solution with all of the tether parts on it and a 4-pound payload on it with absolutely no issues. That combination is more or less at the edge of what the rated payload is for the M300. In reality, you could probably carry more. But 4 pounds is usually quite a bit. Certainly plenty to carry a normal complement of DJI components. The H20T we have on here is essentially the heaviest regular camera that DJI sells and supports. If you want to fly a particularly heavy payload or have questions around that, if you want to do a communications relay, for example, where you have a heavy antenna or something like that, please get a hold of us and we can talk through and discuss those particular implementations as well.
Another question in regards to payloads is whether the use of a tether interferes with the operation of a camera.
Yeah, no, the use of the tether has no impact on the use of the camera. The tether itself sits way behind the mount points on the M300. And we're very careful in all of our solutions to get the tether component away from any of the payload areas of the device. So there are no impacts on your payload or the carry capacity or the use of those devices. Although, of course, if you turn the camera, you're going to have the tether inside the view if you turn the camera to look through the tether. Although it's much smaller than the legs in the M300.
Charles would like to know if there's any flight time limitations using a tether, and what is kind of the max duration that we've seen.
So there are really no theoretical flight time limitations. Particularly these drones, they have nice big motors on them, so the motors won't overheat. We haven't done this on the M300 yet, but on the M200 solution, we had a customer and a dealer who had a customer in the Middle East. They actually went over for a demo, and that demo was scheduled to last 8 hours. And so they had the bird in the air for 8 hours, absolutely no problems. They got to the end of the 8 hours and the customer said, "Can we leave it up?" He said, "Sure." They got to 42 hours and then the customer caved, said, "Okay, bring it down." It's basically, as long as you can keep the base station powered, you can keep the drone in the air.
Speaking of base station power, it might be good to review what are the inputs that the RS-1000 can take.
Yeah, so the RS-1000 can take 110 and 220 volt power. It is capable of producing up to 1600 watts of power, but that does require 220. So if you have a bigger, heavier drone, such as the M300, which uses 12 or 1300 watts, up to that in flight, you do need to have a 220 input. And as part of our kit, for the M300, we actually supply a 110 to 220 converter as part of that, because you really want the 220 input. The vagaries of the electronics inside of this unit are such that with 110 volt input, your maximum is around 1100 watts of output, and that's right at the hairy edge, particularly if you have any payloads on the M300. And again, that AC power can come from a wall outlet. It can come from a generator. We often fly on a small 2000 watt Honda generator, or obviously a larger generator. You do need to be careful on a generator, though, that you don't have it in economy mode, because you need the generator to spin up as the drone pulls power. You want the generator to spin up quickly and not kind of be trying to conserve energy in those flights. You could also operate off of an inverter attached to a command vehicle, something of that order. But again, you need a fair amount of power. You're going to need 12, 13, 1500 watt, maybe 2000 watt inverters. And you really will want to test that in your particular configuration to make sure it works adequately for what you're trying to achieve.
All right, we're really close to wrapping up here. One last item, Rob, I know this has come up in nearly every session. People have wanted to know about Part 107 license requirements. If you could just quickly cover that, and then we'll wrap up if there's no more questions.
Absolutely. I actually let Todd take that one, because Todd is our pilot in charge here, and I'm going to let him take that.
This is a drone just like any other drone, except it's on a tether. You do need a Part 107 license if you're flying for compensation, just like anything else. There's a couple of things about flying on a tether. First of all, if you're in public safety and you're on a tether, you don't need a waiver or operation certificate to fly in almost any situation, including over people or at night, if it's on a tether. And if you are doing this for commercial purposes and you have a Part 107 license, the tether makes getting a certificate of waiver much easier because of the inherent safety that a tether brings to the situation. Obviously, if the tether is 100 feet long and you're 101 feet away, nothing could possibly go wrong as far as damage or personal injury or anything like that. So it's much easier to get those certificates if you're on a tether system. You're in a situation where you want to deviate from the Part 107 regulations.
Thanks, Todd. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Just a couple things as we get ready to close out here. The M300 solution that you've seen today, in fact, all our products are made here in the USA. We are, in terms of availability of an M300 solution, we are in the final stages of a beta program. If you are interested in being a beta customer, please get in touch with your contact at Adorama. They will be able to coordinate that with us. In terms of general availability, you can expect these units to begin shipping at the end of May. So just around the corner. Again, very excited to bring this solution to the marketplace. So thanks on behalf of Blue Vigil. Thank you all for attending. And I'm going to turn it over to Chad to wrap up and close us out.
Sounds good. Thanks again, Carl. Demonstration looked amazing as expected with this quality product that you guys are offering. If you guys have any questions, anybody that's attending, anybody that's viewing this webinar, feel free to reach out to us or check out our website, adorama.com, or email us abs@adorama.com. We'd be happy to answer any questions, go over any type of solutions that you may need this system, or for the Matrice, the 300, or any other drones that you guys, your company or agency may be looking to purchase or inquire about. Feel free to reach out. And again, we, from ground up solutions for public safety agencies, as well as a variety of other industries that this application might be very useful for. We definitely have the experts in house to point you in the right direction and to make sure that you are all trained up and knowledgeable on this system. So again, feel free to reach out, and thank you again for this opportunity. Looking forward to seeing the Tether in action out in the field.
And I'm sorry, Chad, I'm not sure if you mentioned, but all attendees are eligible for a $500 discount off of the M300 solution if it's purchased within the next 3 months. So we're hoping to get a couple people to take advantage of that. So thank you, one and all. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.